If you're anything like me, you enjoy an occasional degenerate trip to the casino, either blowing through your bankroll or leaving with a bit of extra funds, enjoying yourself alongside your buddies the whole time. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that every weekend? Well, you absolutely can. But if you want to keep some stability in your life, you know, the wife, the children, the house, the job, all that stuff, well, you probably shouldn't. Luckily, Balatro is a brand new poker-inspired game that really mends that felt table-sized hole in your heart without breaking the bank, foreclosing on your home, or leaving your parents to wonder where they went wrong. Balatro is a poker roguelike, where your objective is to score enough points using the various poker hands to overcome the competition. Now, if you've never played poker before, this game isn't gonna be for you. It would be too hard to recommend. But even if you've dabbled, you may find this game piquing your interest, so keep that in mind. Unlike traditional poker, you aren't playing against other players, you aren't betting, you aren't bluffing, and in fact, many of the traditional rules aren't found here. Instead, you're just trying to outscore your opponent by playing strong hands. From high cards to flushes to straights and to pairs, your goal is to craft the best possible scoring hands. Any given run starts off quite simple, as you're trying to make these familiar poker hands using your grip of 8 cards. You can discard a set number of times per round as you attempt to reach the point threshold within the allotted number of playable hands. Most of the time, this means having 3 chances to discard and the opportunity to play 4 different hands to beat whatever score the blind shows you. While it abandons a lot, one thing the game does maintain is poker's structure for determining winning hands. Better hands like royal and straight flushes score better than worse hands like single pairs or high cards, as you might expect. Your played hand is scored using a template. Each hand is worth a base number of chips with a base multiplier that represents how hard the hand is to form. From there, the cards you play are added on top. Number cards have their value added to the chip side, represented in blue, and as for your multiplier, well, that depends on a whole lot more. And we'll get there in a moment. If you're unable to beat the opponent's score, the round ends. But if you win, you'll receive some currency to use in the item shop to upgrade your run with new cards. Rinse and repeat, and things seem pretty simple. Essentially, you're just playing poker hands to try to beat your opponent. And the better hands you have, the more you score, the more likely you are to beat them. But this is a roguelike, a genre that excels in presenting unique experiences on any given run, and one that does not shy away from chaos. In poker, the card that encapsulates the spirit of chaos best would of course be the Joker, the harbinger of wild play. In Balatro, there's well over 100 different Joker variants, and each does something a little different. Some may give you additional points to your multiplier for playing a certain suit, like hearts or clubs. Some will add to your chip count. Some may completely multiply your multiplier, which leads to some insane scores. Some may reward you for not discarding too often, while others will shower you with points for doing the complete opposite. And some Jokers even come in different tints with extra value piled on top, like more boost to your chip count or to your multiplier. These are some of the basic ideas, but in unison with each other, you can quickly start to formulate synergized builds that maximize your point total. By collecting the right Jokers and synergizing them together, you can accrue a ton of points. So let me show you an example of an endgame build that I had constructed in just one of my runs. Early in the run, I found a Joker that added 3 points to my multiplier for every booster pack I skipped. This meant taking my winnings and using them to buy packs, and then choosing not to reap the benefits, sending all of those cards to the scrap pile to boost the numbers on this one Joker. Each item shop has 2 booster packs, so that meant adding 6 points to my multiplier every single round. That's pretty good. The higher the multiplier, the better off you are. Next, I had a card that added 40 extra chips to each played hand for the number of remaining discards I had. This of course incentivized me to not discard anything, meaning I played smaller hands like pairs or high cards much more often. After that, I had the Abstract Joker, which added 3 multiplier points for every joker I held, giving me plus 15 to my multiplier on each hand. And finally, I had 2 Broken cards, a Blueprint Joker that copies the card to the right, and after that I had the Ramen Joker, which multiplied my multiplier by 2 so long as I continued to not discard. With the Blueprint Joker, this meant every multiplier was multiplied by 4. So you can see, by not discarding and by playing smaller hands, I was increasing my chip count, I was adding to the multiplier, and then I was multiplying that multiplier by 4. That's crazy, and led to some insane scoring hands for just like basic pairs. The jokers that I had found informed my run, influencing the decisions I made and affecting the strategies I chose to use. I skipped booster packs, I didn't discard, and I played whatever I was dealt frequently, but this was a super efficient build as a result. It's just one example of the infinite possibilities you could be dealt while playing through the game. You never know what joker will show up next in the shop, and any run, even the worst one, can be swung in your favor with momentum if the right card comes up. It's a great feeling as you play. If you've ever played real poker, it's like getting the card you need on the river to complete a straight or a flush. It's just an amazing feeling. Now, that's a little bit about the basic structure. You have your basic playing cards, you have your chip count, you have your multipliers, and you have your jokers. But there are other cards that influence your run as well. Between Spectral, Tarot, Planet, and playing card modifiers, there's a lot more to change things up. Spectral cards are super rare, but can lead to some pretty busted decks. For example, one gives you a random legendary joker, while another transforms nearly 20% of your deck into the same random suit. Talk about being good for flush draws. Tarot and playing card modifiers do similar things, but aren't quite as busted. For example, tarot cards usually draw 10 random cards from your deck and apply different effects. One allows you to take 3 cards and turn them all into a single suit, while another will let you transform one card into another, and so on and so forth, stuff like this. Other tarot cards have miscellaneous effects like doubling your money or giving you a copy of the last planet card you played. Meanwhile, playing card modifiers add unique effects to certain cards. For example, stone cards are worth 50 chips, gold lucky cards give you extra chances at money or multiplier points, steel cards reward you for keeping them in your hand, and glass cards increase your multiplier but run the risk of breaking. And these are but a few examples of how your base cards can be modified. A lot of the time, the jokers you hold will determine which tarot cards, spectral cards, and playing card modifiers you decide to use. And then there's the planet cards, which increase the level of a poker hand. For example, the Uranus card levels up 2 pair. There's a shit joke there somewhere, but let's flush that and keep it moving. Anyway, by leveling up your poker hands, you get more chips and higher multipliers on top of their base amounts, which is needed as you reach some of the higher blinds. In the first few rounds, you might only have to score 300 points, but as you keep going, you will see like 540,000 points. Crazy numbers, and you're gonna need these planet cards to reach those points. Between all of the different cards, no run feels exactly like the last, and you're constantly rewarded with new jokers, new decks, new playing cards, and new modifier cards, which keeps you coming back. You'll always feel like you're one card away from having a busted run, and even if it doesn't pan out, you'll usually unlock some new ways to play, which is fun. I haven't played a ton of roguelikes, but the sheer variety found here reminds me heavily of my favorite game within the genre, The Binding of Isaac. Now, from what I've talked about so far, it may appear that Balatro, much like regular poker, is luck-based. You can't control exactly what jokers, what modifiers, and what playing cards you'll see, and so some of it does come down to random chance. However, there is some strategy involved in the game. Playing to the strength of your current build is paramount. For example, if you've spent your playing cards to level up 3 of a kinds, then you'll be most incentivized in playing that hand. Or if your build favors single pairs, sometimes it's better to just play those basic 2 cards instead of something more potent like a straight or a flush. And of course, you have to keep in mind the order your jokers are aligned. You can shuffle them around, which is important. Your jokers that multiply the multiplier are best saved for last, that way you squeak out every single possible point. Components like this make strategy an important part of the game. It isn't just luck based. You're going to have to consider the build you currently have, what planet cards you use to boost what hands, and then go from there, making the right decisions and maybe doing a little math along the way. This is especially true when taking on boss blinds. These are juiced up opponents that hit you with tougher obstacles or debuffs. One may nerf all your diamond suited cards so that you receive no additional points from them. Another may increase the score you need to beat it dramatically, and some will even force you to draw cards face down, making you use your discards if you don't want to play blindly. These are by far the toughest tests in the base game. Of course, if you do find yourself enjoying your time here, there's a whole host of new things to unlock in your collection, many of which offer new ways to play. There's a few different difficulty settings to try out, and even a challenge mode that unlocks after you win 5 rounds. And for only $15, it's quite a bit of content to play around with. So yeah, this is an early surprise hit for me in 2024. It wasn't on my radar until I saw some folks talking about it on Twitter. I've been on a bit of a gambling kick lately, and it seemed right up my alley, so I gave it a shot, and it didn't disappoint. If you're a fan of poker and you've had some experience with the game, I think you would certainly enjoy this title. It's super easy to fall into a rhythm where you'll just want to play one more round, and then another round. It's cliche to say that about roguelikes, but the best ones always leave the player with that feeling, and I think that's the case with Balatro. Of course, it's also a great palate cleanser game, easy to jump in for a round or two to break up long gaming sessions. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the same time, and Balatro was just the perfect complementary game to pair it up with. Something quick to get me into the gaming groove before hopping over to that much bigger title. Let me put it this way, once I review a game, I almost always move on to something new, but Balatro feels like it's going to maintain its spot in my gaming rotation throughout the year, just because of how accessible it is. If I want to do some light gaming while listening to a podcast, I can do that here, but if I want something to challenge me a bit and push my card skills to their limit, that's an option too. So for me, it's a win-win, and that's something you don't often see in poker. So take the chance, bet on this review, and give Balatro a shot. Thanks for watching. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed this brief look at Balatro. Like I said, it really came out of nowhere, but has already become one of the best games I've played in the first 3 months of this year. If you like poker, check it out, and if you don't like poker, then probably give it a pass. With this video done, I'll be taking a short week-long vacation to see some family, and when I get back, it'll be nose to the grindstone on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That will be the next video. After that, I'm not really sure. There's Stellar Blade, Rise of Ronin, Dragon's Dogma 2, and more coming out soon, so we'll see which one I decide to pick up and play. If you have suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing for more, follow me on Twitter at NopNapNarp, join our Discord, the link is below, and as always guys, have a nice day, and take care.